My name is Kyrstin Dumont. I'm an Algonquin and Anishinaabe woman from Kitigan-Zibi First Nations Reserve, but I was born and raised here in Ottawa, Ontario. I am the granddaughter of Albert Dumont. I am the daughter of Jessica Dumont, and I am a matriarch within my community, and soon to be a mother of one. I am a leader, an activist, an advocate, and a role model to the youth within my community, to my family, and to my community alike. Intergenerational trauma to me means the passing of traumatic events and historical situations that have occurred to my family. But when I think of the intergenerational impacts that come from intergenerational trauma, I not only think about the traumatic experiences itself, but also the strength that is pulled from these many traumatic experiences. To be able to live, thrive, and strive within a colonial system comes from much strength within us all. Being able to overcome barriers, obstacles, and situations where phenomenons are created helps me to understand that intergenerational trauma is more than trauma within itself, but it is who we are as Indigenous individuals. We are caring, we are loving, we are filled with strength, appreciation, and a lot of that comes from the intergenerational impacts of the traumatic experiences that our family has had to live through, grow through, and strive through to continuously be powerful individuals. Intergenerational trauma has impacted me in many different forms and many different ways, but I would like to first start with the way that has impacted my family and my community. I think that when we live through such traumatic events, it helps us to understand how to love or be loved. And through my family, that is one of the most impactful things that I have seen and have been taught, through understanding that the harm we face or the lack of love that we experience is to not be shedded upon our children. It is not to be mistaken for how we are to care for each other and how we are to live with each other. There are many different individuals who don't necessarily understand how to move forward throughout obstacles like these. But as generations become and generations go, it starts to understand how to impact one another in a more positive and influential way. My family has always ever taught me how to love myself and how to love my community. And this comes from a lack of love that they themselves have experienced as young children. From my grandfather never hearing his father say that he loved him, to me now only ever hearing my grandfather say that he loves me, he appreciates me, and that he cares for me. It's something that shifts within a universe. It helps us to understand how to be appreciative of one another, especially when that appreciation has lacked from generations. Intergenerational trauma has affected my mental health in many different forms, and one of the main forms is the way that I have understood how to accept gratitude and appreciation, how to understand that what I am giving to my community is enough, how much of myself that I am giving is enough. I think that when we go through these traumatic events, these traumatic situations, we feel self-doubt. We feel that we aren't doing enough or that we haven't become enough. And that is one of the main impacts that I have faced through the intergenerational trauma that I carry from my family members. not being able to speak our language and having to reconnect alongside my grandfather has been a journey within itself. And this all comes from a systemic situation grown through family. His parents being fluent Algonquin and Anishinaabe language speakers, but choosing to not send that down to him or his 12 brothers and sisters have impacted myself, my family, and will be impacting my child. Having to relearn and regrow through culture is a genocide within itself. Not being able to understand why things were taken away from us and why we now have to regain these things is how we can be more understanding to what is offered to us within life. How all of the opportunities that we are given, we are accepting of, and that we thrive within can help us to diminish the intergenerational trauma and continue to reflect on the intergenerational strength that we all carry to be able to continue to do these things despite them being taken away from us. The effects regarding intergenerational trauma have impacted the love that I have for myself, and the care that I give to myself is infinite. As I grow older, I start to understand and start to realize how to care for myself and how to love for myself. But as a young child, I looked for love in the wrong places because I had a self-doubt and doubted the love that I gave to myself. As a young child, I unfortunately moved towards addiction. I dabbled in things that were not healthy for me. And it wasn't until I was a late teenager that I started to really immerse myself within culture and started to understand how to love myself, how to care for myself, and how to appreciate myself. But I think that lack of appreciation comes from the lack of love that I had carried throughout my entire life, whether it was a lack of love that people had for myself or a lack of love that I had for myself. It is something that people cannot necessarily explain or put into words, but it is something that we live with on a daily basis. What helps me is being able to indulge into culture, being able to go with my grandfather and perform ceremony, understanding how to reconnect with the land, the trees, the bees, the grass, things that have never showed me harm. Because as a young girl, the only harm that I had ever experienced was from mankind. And what I forgot was the love that Mother Earth had given me. And as I reconnect to that, it has helped me to have the ability and the strength to not only love myself, but to love my family, to love my future son, to love my partner, and to love people who have not learned to love themselves yet. And I say yet because we will all have the ability to learn how to love ourselves eventually. For my community, to be a voice for people who have yet to find their voice, that is how I have dealt with my mental health struggles and my understanding of how to move forward from intergenerational trauma. As I journey into motherhood, one of the greatest gifts that I can give to my child is the ability to love them unconditionally and unapologetically. The same love that my grandfather had lacked within his life, the same love that my mother may have lacked within hers. But that love that I will give to my child will be infinite. It will be breathtaking. It will be magical. Because the love that we feel from our parents, the love that we feel for generations, is what helps us to continue to move forward and to push deeper within situations that can be difficult and filled with colonial points of views. Because Indigenous people do not live through colonial barriers, but we live through indigeneity, through resiliency. And that's what I hope to give to my child as I venture into this journey of motherhood. The hopes for the future of my healing is having the ability to not only heal myself, but to heal my family.